Welcome to Honeybee. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Real stories of love, lies, and betrayal, where every truth stings. Let's begin. Charles and Ivanka had been married for several years. On the surface, they looked like a picture-perfect couple. Two people chasing their dreams and building a future together. But behind closed doors, their reality was far from perfect. Their marriage had grown difficult. Arguments had become part of their routine, some about small, trivial things, others about deeper issues. Each fight seemed to underline one truth. There was a growing distance between them. Charles still loved Ivanka deeply. He wasn't flawless, but he tried his best to provide for their future. They had been saving for a house, a dream Charles clung to as if it were his anchor. He often imagined the day they would finally move into a home they could call their own. But Ivanka didn't share his vision. One evening, a fight began the way so many others had, small and seemingly meaningless. Charles had just returned from work, exhausted, hoping for a quiet night, but the air was already tense. Ivanka had asked him for something, and Charles gently reminded her that they couldn't afford it right now. Ivanka didn't accept his answer. Like always, the disagreement quickly escalated, turning into something far more personal, far more painful. Ivanka's voice was sharp, her words cutting. She had a way of making Charles feel like he was always falling short, even when he was giving everything he had. "Why do I have to keep explaining this to you?" she snapped, rolling her eyes. Charles tried to stay calm, forcing his voice to remain steady. "Ivanka, I'm trying. I really am. But it feels like nothing I do is ever enough for you." Ivanka let out a cold, bitter laugh. "Trying? That's what you call this? This isn't trying, Charles. This is you doing the bare minimum and expecting me to be grateful for it." Her words hit him like a blow. Bare minimum? He repeated under his breath. He wanted to remind her the sacrifices he had made, the long hours, the savings, the dreams he had put on hold for their future. But what was the point? Nothing he said would matter. Her dismissive attitude hurt most of all. Frustration boiled inside him. Finally, he grabbed his keys and walked to the door. "I can't do this right now," he muttered as he left, desperate for air, for space. Ivanka just stood there, unmoved. Neither of them knew this night would change everything. Charles hadn't gone far when he realized he had forgotten his wallet on the kitchen counter. Annoyed but knowing he couldn't go without it, he turned around and headed home. He opened the front door quietly, hoping to avoid another argument. But as soon as he stepped inside, he heard Ivanka's voice. She was on the phone. At first, he barely listened, focused only on grabbing his wallet. Then her words froze him in place. "I settle for less," she said. His chest tightened, his pulse pounding in his ears. "I should have been with Dean, but I needed stability." The world seemed to tilt. She kept talking. "Charles is a good man, but he was never the one I truly wanted." Suddenly, everything made sense. Her distant affection, the coldness, the constant tension. It had never been about money. She had never truly loved him at all. Charles picked up his wallet, grabbed his card, and left the house quietly, closing the door behind him without a word. The night air felt sharp against his skin, but it couldn't dull the pain in his chest. He didn't know where he was going. His feet simply carried him through the streets until he ended up at a bar. It didn't matter which one. He just needed somewhere to sit, to breathe, to let the truth sink in without being crushed by it. He ordered a beer, took a long sip, and let the bitterness sit on his tongue, though it was nothing compared to bitterness in his heart. Ivanka had never wanted him. He had spent years sacrificing, believing their love was worth the struggle, that their pain was temporary. But it had all been meaningless. She hadn't chosen him out of love. She had settled, and in doing so, trapped him in a marriage built on nothing but convenience. He considered confronting her, telling her he had heard everything. But what would it change? She might cry, she might apologize, but her heart would still belong to someone else. As he stared at the amber liquid in his glass, a decision slowly took shape. He wouldn't just leave for the night. He wouldn't just cool off. He would leave for good. Charles would erase himself from her life completely and give her the one thing she clearly wanted: freedom. He ordered another beer, letting the decision settle deep inside him. Tonight would be the last night he spent as Ivanka's husband. By morning, he would be gone. Later that night, while Ivanka slept, Charles sat in the dim glow of his laptop. If she wanted another man, he wouldn't stop her. But he wouldn't leave empty-handed either. He logged into their joint savings account. Since he had always managed their finances, it was easy. They had been saving for years, and Charles withdrew what was rightfully his, the 80% he had contributed. But instead of taking out cash, he converted the funds into valuable assets, electronics, collectibles, items he could later resell. He left no digital trace. Then, with calm precision, he packed the essentials, documents, clothes, anything he would need to start fresh. He took nothing sentimental. There was nothing left worth holding on to. Finally, he sat down to write a note. He didn't need to write much. The truth had already been spoken. In steady handwriting, he wrote, "I heard everything. I won't stand in the way of your happiness. Go and be with the man you truly want. No accusations. No anger. Just a goodbye." By morning, Charles was gone. When Ivanka woke up, she expected another ordinary day. Then she saw the note. Her stomach dropped. Panic set in as she realized what happened. He hadn't just left cool off. He was gone. She grabbed her phone, dialing his number again and again, but the line was disconnected. She tried emailing him, only to get an undeliverable message. Her heart pounded as she checked his social media, scrolling desperately, but his profiles were gone. It was as if he had never existed. She even called his workplace, hoping he might have gone there. Hours later, the receptionist casually informed her, "Oh, Charles resigned this morning. Sent an email before office hours." Her hands trembled. This hadn't been impulsive. Charles had been methodical, deliberate. He had erased himself from her life completely. For the first time, Ivanka felt the weight of her choices crash down on her. But it was too late. Charles was gone. With no one left to hide from, Ivanka turned fully to Declan, the man she had once considered her true choice. What had once been secret was now out in the open. No more guilt, no more pretense. At first, it felt like everything had fallen into place. Declan said all the right things, made her feel alive, reassured her that she had made the right choice. For a while, she felt free, convinced this was a life she deserved. Months later, Ivanka finalized a divorce. Charles never returned, so the court granted default judgment in her favor. She was officially single. But as time passed, cracks began to form. Declan was passionate, yes, but distant. He avoided serious talks about the future, brushing her off whenever she brought it up. Then the truth began to reveal itself. Declan was seeing other women. He had never been committed to her. What she thought was true love was nothing more than convenience for him. The comparisons crept in. Charles, despite their fights, had always been steady, always there, always fighting for their marriage. He had sacrificed his comfort, his dreams, even his finances to build something lasting. Declan gave her nothing but fleeting excitement. Slowly, she realized the truth. She hadn't settled for less. She had thrown away something real for something that was never meant to last. Years went by. Ivanka was still single. Declan never proposed, never committed, never built the future she imagined. And sometimes when the house was quiet, she thought about Charles. Where was he now? Did he fall in love again? Did he build the life they once dreamed of? Only with someone else? The thoughts haunted her. She had once had a man who loved her unconditionally, and she let him slip away. And that's the lesson here. We don't always appreciate what we have until it's gone. Sometimes we push away those who truly love us, only to realize too late what they meant to us. Words matter. The things we say, even when we think no one is listening, can either strengthen a relationship or destroy it completely. Love isn't just passion and excitement. It's respect, trust, and commitment. If you don't value someone's presence, you may one day have to live with their absence. Charles didn't leave in anger. He left because he knew staying where he wasn't truly wanted would only hurt them both. Some people fight for love at all costs. Others know when it's time to let go. What do you think? Did Charles make the right choice by walking away? Or should he have stayed and fought for their marriage? Tell us in the comments. Until next time, take care and stay wise.